Welcome the spicy lady. Trust is never explained. It is simply felt in the body before the mind understands it. Have you ever noticed how a child can walk into a room full of adults and instantly choose one person to sit beside, even without knowing them? Or how a dog can relax around one stranger, but stay tense around another? Even when both are being polite, it is not random. It is something deeper that words cannot fully explain. This is not about trying to be gentle or pretending to be kind. Children and animals are incredibly sensitive to what is real and what is forced. They notice tone, energy, and intention faster than any adult ever could. When someone is tense inside but smiling outside, they sense the mismatch. When someone is calm without effort, they relax. This is where the idea of spicy lady sigmas becomes interesting. It is not about trying to be different or acting a certain way. It is about how some people carry themselves in a way that feels calm, steady, and unforced. Children and animals respond strongly to that because they do not listen to speeches or social status. They read energy, tone, movement, and emotional consistency. In everyday life, most people are loud in different ways. Some are loud with words, some with emotions, and some with reactions that change quickly depending on the situation. But there are a few who stay consistent. They do not create confusion in the space around them. That kind of presence is rare and it stands out in silence. In this video, we will break down why children and animals naturally trust this kind of energy more than anything else. It goes deeper than behavior. It is about emotional safety, unseen signals, and how calm presence affects instinct. Watch until the end because point 10 will hit home differently and might change the way you understand trust forever. Number 1. They don't perform emotions. They feel them cleanly. Animals and children read raw emotional signals, not social masks. Spicy lady sigmas don't act nice. Their emotions are internally aligned, which feels safe. Most people think trust is built through words, but with children and animals, words barely matter. What they respond to is what you are underneath everything you say. This is where spicy lady sigmas stand out in a way that is hard to fake. They do not put on emotions like clothes. They are not smiling just because it is expected, and they are not pretending to be calm while feeling restless inside. What they feel and what they show are closely connected. That alignment is rare, and it creates a kind of quiet honesty that others can sense immediately. Children are especially sharp with this. You have probably seen a child pull away from someone who is trying too hard to be friendly. The smile is there, the voice is soft, but something feels off. At the same time, that same child might walk straight up to a woman who is simply sitting, relaxed, saying very little. No performance, no effort, just the natural state of being. The child feels it and responds without hesitation. Animals react the same way. A dog can tell the difference between someone who is forcing calm and someone who actually feels at ease. One creates tension. The other creates trust. It is not about technique. It is about truth. Spicy lady sigmas tend to have this because they have spent time understanding their own emotions instead of hiding from them. They are not perfect or emotionless. They just do not need to disguise what they feel. That inner clarity removes confusion from their presence. And when there is no confusion, there is no reason to be guarded. Children stop overthinking. Animals stop scanning for danger. They settle. In a world where so many interactions feel staged, this kind of emotional honesty stands out more than anything else. It does not demand attention, yet it quietly earns trust in the most instinctive way possible. Number 2. They respect nonverbal communication. Animals don't speak words. Kids often can't articulate feelings. Not everything important is said out loud. In fact, the most honest signals rarely come with words that a child may say, "I'm fine," while their eyes look uncertain. A dog may wag its tail but keep its body tense. If you only listen to words, you miss the truth. Spicy lady sigmas pay attention to what is not being said. They notice the small things most people ignore. A shift in posture, a pause before answering, the way someone avoids eye contact or clings a little tighter than usual. These details speak loudly to someone who is truly present. Children often struggle to explain what they feel. They may not have the vocabulary for fear, confusion, or even excitement. So their emotions come out through behavior. Maybe they become quiet. Maybe they act out. Many adults react only to the behavior and miss the message behind it. Spicy Lady Sigmas slow down and read the signal beneath the surface. Imagine a child who suddenly becomes withdrawn in a room full of people. Instead of forcing them to speak or telling them to act normal, a Spicy Lady Sigma might simply sit beside them, lowering the pressure without making it obvious. No interrogation, no spotlight, just a quiet presence that says, "You are understood," without needing to explain. Animals respond even more directly to this. They do not care about words at all. They read tone, movement, and emotional state. A person may speak gently, but move in a way that feels rushed or tense. The animal reacts to the tension, not the voice. Spicy Lady Sigmas stay consistent. Their tone, body language, and inner state align, so there is no mixed signal. This ability creates a deep sense of comfort. Children feel seen without being forced to explain themselves. Animals feel safe without needing reassurance in words. When someone understands you without demanding that you translate your feelings, trust forms naturally. It is quiet, but it runs deep. Number 3, they're not trying to own the connection. No possessiveness, no ego. Children and animals feel free around them, not controlled. There is a subtle difference between caring about someone and trying to control them. Many people confuse the two. They think closeness means constant attention, constant direction, and sometimes even silent pressure. But children and animals can feel that pressure immediately, even when it is not spoken. Spicy Lady Sigmas do not approach connection like something to possess. They do not try to hold on too tightly or shape every interaction to fit their expectations. There is no hidden need to be chosen, obeyed, or admired. That absence of control changes everything. Think about a child who is playing freely. The moment an adult starts hovering, correcting every move, or demanding a certain behavior, the child's energy shifts. They become cautious. They second-guess themselves. But when someone simply allows them to explore within safe limits, the child relaxes and becomes more open. They come closer on their own terms. The same pattern shows up with animals. A person who tries too hard to pet, call, or command a dog often gets ignored or avoided. But someone who sits calmly without reaching out too quickly often finds the animal approaching them first. There is no force, no pressure, just space. Spicy Lady Sigmas understand this without needing to explain it. They know that trust cannot grow where there is control. So they give room for others to move, to choose, and to come closer naturally. Their presence does not feel like a cage. It feels like open ground. This kind of freedom is rare. It tells a child, "You are allowed to be yourself here." It tells an animal, "You are not being managed or used. You are simply safe." And when someone feels free instead of controlled, they do something powerful. They stay, not because they have to, but because they want to. That is the kind of connection that lasts. Number 4, they don't fake affection. Animals, especially, detect insincerity. Spicy Lady Sigmas don't force warmth. They give it only when it's real, making it more trustworthy. Affection looks simple on the surface, but it is one of the easiest things to fake and one of the hardest things to believe when it is not real. Most people have learned to show warmth on cue. A soft voice, a quick smile, a gentle touch. It can look convincing, but children and animals are not convinced by performance. They respond to what is genuine. Spicy Lady Sigmas do not hand out affection just to fill silence or meet expectations. If they smile, it comes from a real place. If they show care, it is because they feel it, not because they think they should. This makes their warmth less frequent, but far more meaningful. You can see this clearly with animals. A dog can sense hesitation in your hand before you even touch it. If you are unsure, distracted, or forcing friendliness, the animal pulls back or stays alert. But when someone reaches out with calm and genuine ease, the response changes. The animal leans in, relaxes, and trusts the moment. It is not about technique. It is about truth. Children react in a similar way. They can tell when praise is automatic. Saying good job without real attention feels empty to them, even if they cannot explain why. But when a spicy Lady Sigma notices something specific and responds with honest appreciation, the child lights up. It feels earned. It feels real. There is also restraint in this. Spicy Lady Sigmas do not overwhelm with constant touch or exaggerated reactions. They allow connections to build at its own pace. This prevents the interaction from feeling forced or overwhelming. Real affection carries weight. It does not need to be loud or repeated every minute. It shows up in the right moments and lands exactly where it should. And because it is not given out carelessly, it becomes something others trust deeply. Not questioned, not second-guessed. Just felt and accepted without hesitation. Number 5. They don't project their issues outward that they've done internal work. So children and animals aren't burdened with emotional spillover or unpredictable reactions. People often underestimate how much emotional weight they carry into a room. Stress, frustration, disappointment, and unresolved feelings do not stay hidden for long. Even when no words are spoken, they leak out through tone, movement, and reaction. Children and animals are extremely sensitive to this. They do not respond to what is said as much as what is felt. Spicy Lady Sigmas are different in the way they handle this inner world. They do not pass their emotional struggles onto others. When something is wrong, they deal with it internally instead of letting it spill out in unpredictable ways. This creates a kind of emotional steadiness that others can feel immediately. For example, imagine someone who had a difficult day at work. They come home, and the smallest mistake from a child triggers irritation. The reaction is not about the moment itself, but about everything built up inside. The child may not understand what went wrong, but they feel the shift in energy. It creates confusion and sometimes fear. Now compare that to someone who has learned to process their emotions privately. They may still feel tired or stressed, but they do not let it distort how they treat others. If a child spills water, the response is calm. If a dog makes a mess, there is correction without emotional overload. The situation is handled without turning it into something bigger than it is. Children thrive in that kind of environment. They do not have to guess what mood the adult is in. They are not walking on eggshells trying to avoid sudden reactions. They can simply exist and learn without emotional pressure hanging over them. Animals respond the same way. They become anxious when energy is unstable and relaxed when it is steady. A calm presence tells them there is no hidden danger in the emotional environment. This ability does not come from pretending everything is fine. It comes from doing the inner work needed to separate feeling from reaction. When that happens, others around them are no longer carrying emotions that do not belong to them. And that creates a sense of safety that is quietly powerful. Number 6. They don't overreact to mistakes. A broken glass or a scratched couch doesn't trigger explosive responses. Mistakes are part of everyday life. A glass slips from a small hand. A dog jumps onto the couch with muddy paws. A child knocks something over while trying to help. These moments are normal, but what happens next decides whether trust grows or disappears. Many people react too quickly. Their voice rises, their face changes. The room feels heavier in seconds. The mistake becomes bigger than it really is. In that kind of environment, children start to hide things. Animals start to become cautious. They are not learning anymore. They are just trying to avoid trouble. Spicy Lady Sigmas handle these moments differently. They do not turn small accidents into emotional events. If something breaks, they deal with the situation first, not the emotion. A spilled drink is just a spilled drink. A scratched surface is damage that can be fixed or managed. The focus stays on what needs to be done, not on creating fear around it. For example, imagine a child dropping a plate while trying to carry it to the table. In one home, the reaction might be instant frustration. The child freezes, unsure whether to cry or apologize repeatedly. In another space, the response is calm. The child is told it is okay, then shown how to be more careful next time. The lesson is learned without emotional shock. Animals respond even more clearly to this. A dog that accidentally knocks something over does not understand anger. It only understands tone and energy. If the response is aggressive, the animal becomes nervous and confused. If the response is steady, the animal simply learns boundaries without fear. Over time, this kind of calm reaction builds something powerful. It teaches that mistakes are not dangerous. They are just part of learning. That removes the pressure to be perfect all the time. And when people do not fear mistakes, they become more honest, more open, and more confident. Trust grows slowly, but deeply because the environment feels safe even when things go wrong. Number 7. They don't need to be the center of attention. This removes pressure. Kids and animals gravitate toward those who don't demand to be noticed. Attention is something most people quietly chase, even when they say they do not. They adjust their voice, repeat their stories, or try to stand out in ways that feel forced. But children and animals are not drawn to effort like that. They are drawn to ease. Spicy Lady Sigmas are not focused on being noticed. They are comfortable existing without turning every moment into something that must be seen or acknowledged. There is no constant need to take up space in a loud way. This removes pressure from the environment around them. Think about a child in a room full of adults. The adults who keep calling the child over, asking for reactions, or trying to entertain them can sometimes feel overwhelming. But the person who is simply present, doing their own thing quietly, often becomes the one the child slowly moves toward. Not because they asked for attention, but because they did not demand it. Animals respond in a similar way. A dog will often avoid someone who is overly eager to interact, especially if the energy feels intense or unpredictable. But someone who sits calmly, not insisting on interaction, becomes interesting in a different way. The animal approaches on its own terms, without pressure. Spicy Lady Sigmas create this kind of space naturally. They do not compete for attention in a room. They are not trying to prove anything through volume or display. Because of that, others feel free around them. There is no expectation to perform or respond in a certain way. This lack of demand changes everything. Children do not feel like they are being watched or evaluated all the time. Animals do not feel cornered or pushed. Instead, they feel safe to come closer when they choose to, and that choice matters. Connection that is not forced always lasts longer. It grows quietly without pressure and becomes something real rather than something performed. Number 8. Their presence feels like safety without explanation. That there's no logical checklist, just a deep instinctive sense of I'm okay here. That's the highest form of trust. There are some people you can explain with logic, and there are others you simply feel. You cannot always point to one clear reason, but your body relaxes around them. Your thoughts slow down. You stop preparing for something to go wrong. It feels natural, almost automatic. That is what makes Spicy Lady Sigmas different in the way children and animals respond to them. There is no need for a long introduction or proof of trustworthiness. The feeling arrives before words do. A child might sit closer without being called. An animal might settle down without being trained or guided. Nothing is forced, yet everything feels steady. It is not about perfection or trying to appear calm. It is about the absence of tension that others usually carry without noticing. Many people bring pressure into a space through their habits, their expectations, and even their silence. But in the presence of someone who is internally balanced, that pressure feels lighter. Think of a child who is unsure in a new environment. In one setting, they may cling, cry, or stay alert to every movement. In another, they slowly begin to explore, not because they were told it is safe, but because they feel it. The environment itself seems to say, you are fine here. Animals respond in the same quiet way. A dog does not analyze character. It reads energy, tone, and consistency. If those signals feel steady, the animal relaxes. It does not need reasons. It just settles. Spicy Lady Sigmas often create this kind of space without trying. They are not performing safety. They embody it through consistency, calm reactions, and emotional steadiness. There is no push and pull, no hidden unpredictability that others have to decode. And when that happens, trust forms at a deeper level, not because it was explained or earned through words, but because it was felt instantly. That kind of trust does not need confirmation. It simply exists. Number 9, they don't punish curiosity. A child asks why, or an animal testing boundaries isn't met with irritation. Curiosity is one of the purest things you will ever see. A child asking endless questions is not trying to be difficult. They are trying to understand the world. An animal pushing limits is not being stubborn. It is learning where safety begins and ends. The problem is that most people respond to curiosity with impatience. Spicy Lady Sigmas handle this very differently. They do not see questions or boundary testing as a threat to their control. They see it for what it is, a natural process of learning. So instead of shutting it down, they allow it to breathe. Think about a child who keeps asking why after every answer. Many adults get irritated after the third or fourth question. Their tone changes. Their face tightens. The child picks up on that shift immediately and either becomes quiet or anxious. But a spicy Lady Sigma stays steady. She might not have all the answers, but her response does not carry frustration. She gives space for the child to keep exploring without feeling like a burden. It is the same with animals. A dog might sniff around, step into places it should not, or test how far it can go. Instead of reacting harshly, she corrects calmly and clearly. There is no anger behind it, just guidance. The animal understands the boundary without feeling threatened. This matters more than people realize. When curiosity is punished, it creates fear. When it is allowed, it builds confidence. Children become more open. Animals become more relaxed. They do not feel like they have to walk on eggshells. Spicy Lady Sigmas create an environment where learning does not come with shame. That kind of space is rare. It tells a child, you are safe to ask. It tells an animal, you are safe to explore. And over time, that safety turns into deep trust. Not forced, not taught, just naturally built through patience and understanding. Number 10. They don't dominate. They anchor. Some people assert control to feel powerful. Spicy Lady Sigma stabilize environments instead, which naturally draws trust. Power can show up in very different ways. Some people try to prove it by controlling everything around them. They raise their voice, take over conversations, or decide how everyone else should act. It might look like strength on the surface, but often it creates tension underneath. Spicy Lady Sigmas do something very different. They do not try to dominate the space. They anchor it. That means instead of pushing their energy outward to control others, they hold a steady center that others naturally adjust to. You can notice this in small everyday moments. In a group where things start to feel chaotic, some people add more noise. They interrupt, correct, or try to take charge. But someone who anchors a space does the opposite. They stay calm, observe first, and respond only when needed. That calmness becomes a reference point for everyone else. Think about a child in a room where emotions are high. If everyone is reacting loudly, the child becomes more unsettled. But if one person stays grounded, speaking gently and moving calmly, the child slowly begins to mirror that stability. They feel less overwhelmed without anyone telling them what to do. Animals respond even faster to this kind of presence. A dog does not follow authority in the human sense. It follows consistency and emotional steadiness. If someone is trying too hard to control it, the animal may resist or stay alert. But when someone is calm, predictable, and not forcing anything, the animal naturally relaxes and stays close. Anchoring is not about doing less. It is about removing unnecessary emotional disturbance from the environment. Spicy Lady Sigmas often create that effect without drawing attention to it. They are not trying to manage everyone. They are simply steady within themselves, and that steadiness changes the atmosphere. People do not feel pushed or corrected all the time. They feel balanced. They feel like they do not have to brace themselves. That is why trust forms quietly around them. Not because they take control, but because they make control unnecessary. In final words, trust is not something you demand. It is something others quietly choose. When you look closely at why children and animals trust certain people, it becomes clear that it is never about words or effort. It is about how safe someone feels to be around. Spicy Lady Sigmas often carry this kind of safety without trying to prove it. Across all the ideas explored, one pattern stands out. They do not force emotions. They do not punish curiosity. They are not overwhelmed with attention or control. Instead, they stay steady, aware, and emotionally honest, that steadiness becomes a kind of signal that children and animals understand better than explanations. A child does not need instructions to feel comfortable. An animal does not need reasons to relax. They respond to energy, consistency, and tone. When those things are calm and predictable, something inside them loosens. They stop preparing for danger. They stop hesitating. They simply exist in the moment. Spicy lady sigmas create that environment naturally. They do not make others feel managed or watched. They do not turn every mistake into tension or every silence into pressure. Even in small interactions, there's room to breathe, to learn, and to just be. That is why trust grows around them so deeply. Not because it is earned through performance, but because it is felt without effort. It does not arrive suddenly. It builds quietly through every calm response, every patient moment, and every honest reaction. In the end, the reason children and animals trust them is simple. They do not take away freedom. They create safety inside it. And that kind of trust does not need explanation. It is understood instinctively and remembered deeply. Thank you for watching, and God bless you. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Nail polish, I'll see you in the next one.